Welcome to another episode of the Overnight Success Podcast. I'm your co-host, Cristy Lime, and I am here with a special guest, Eileen Suarez. She is a certified transformation and brain coach and the founder of Peak Confidence Group. She helps leaders, professionals, and youth rewire their mindset, build confidence, and create lasting transformation, especially during times of change. Her work blends brain-based coaching, leadership development, and experiential learning, all rooted in her mission to build confident leaders across generations. And I've had the opportunity to sit and talk with Eileen offline prior to this, and I'm so excited to dive in today because the journeys are so special to really take the leap and build a confident coaching company. And I'm excited to hear your story today, Eileen. So without further ado, thank you for being here. And please tell us a little bit more about you.
Yes. Well, I'm so excited to be here and thank you for that amazing introduction. Kind of had a tongue twister in there a little bit, right? Just to give everybody some background about myself, I actually have always had an entrepreneur spirit because when I was 17 years old, I got into the insurance industry. I worked in a farmer's insurance agency and I ran it by myself for 10 years. Then I moved into corporate after that, and I held a lot of different roles. And during that time, that's really what helped me to find my passion. I always tell people that being in corporate is where you truly find what is your passions, what is your purpose, what are your skill sets. And to me, that's the practice that I needed to become an entrepreneur, actually. It gave me all the experience and it gave me 100%. I knew exactly where I needed to be in life. And so in those roles in the corporation that I worked for, I did P&L and I did product management, project management. I was a chief of staff. I held and an underwriter. I held so many different roles. But one thing in the common thread from every single thing I did is no matter what role I was in, I always found ways to develop others. And that's where my true passion lies. I created onboarding programs, never my job. It was just something that I really enjoyed. And I always felt like I was thrown in, like sink or swim. You know, you don't get official training sometimes for roles that you're in. And I always felt I don't want the next person to go through this. And so I always just documented everything. And then about 4 years ago, I decided that I was like, I had mastered the insurance industry. I'd been doing it for about 22 years. And I did not leave my organization that was in financial services. I actually just decided I'm going to do where my passion and purpose is, and I'm going to get into learning and development. What I learned through these experiences, all of the roles that I ever truly wanted, and I knew that was going to get me to that next level, get the next level of success in my career, it actually took me 3 times every single time to get those roles. It was not easy, but one thing that I teach all of my clients is to find your passion, purpose, and have persistence. That's part of my signature P3 framework. And so I've lived and gone through my career following my framework that I now share with others. And so just 1 month ago, right? Yep, 1 month ago, January 9th was my official day that I actually ended up leaving my corporate job to do my business full time. Um, and so I'm really excited because the way that it happened was not what I expected, but it's what I needed. It gave me the courage. So I got laid off back in end of July. Lucky for me, I got to stay within my organization up until January to finish out some work and different projects and transition work. But it was such a great experience, actually having that extra time because it gave me time to reflect and start continuing to build my business. So I'm really excited today that I get to do this full time and really help people who are also in transition similar to mine. There's a lot of people in the world right now experiencing layoffs and reorgs, and I'm just really excited to work with people who are feeling stuck because truly what I do is take people from stuck to unstoppable, and it's all based on your mindset. So that really helped me again over these last 6 months to really think about how do I want to move forward and do what I truly love and reach my full potential?
I love that, Eileen. Thank you for sharing. And your story is special because you have been in corporate America, but you also showed up with the grit and the tenacity to say, I'm going to learn these other things that I don't know. And I love, you must have learner in your top five, like your
I
strategic.
do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I'm like, I can tell you have learner, and strength finders, which I know you can speak on that as well. But it's such a powerful way of showing up and kind of having that grit and that persistence and really identifying like, hey, this might not be my lane, but it helps you learn how you can support others in the future. So it's a lifelong journey to get to this point, right?
It is, absolutely. And when I think about the journey, it was all very strategic. I'm always thinking about if I'm going to get into a new role, like, what is that process of doing that? What is the ultimate outcome? What is the goal? How is it going to prepare me for future opportunities? And so, strategic, you said it, is my number one, then learner. And I want to talk about this for just a moment because the reason I had the courage to leave my corporate job was because I am a certified strengths coach. So I'm teaching people all the time, how do you first unlock your strengths? How do you discover them? And then how do you use them intentionally to reach your full potential? And so I have strategic, learner, communication, responsibility, and relator. I think this is all a common language we all understand, and that's what Gallup Strengths Finder is. But what I will say is what that all says is coach all over it and professional development facilitator. And so in my last role, I was a learning performance consultant. And so I worked with executives across our organization to identify skill gaps and create innovative and experiential learning solutions. What wasn't my official job was facilitating training. Like, we did a lot of self-directed learning in my organization, but I saw such a big need for it, and I feel like that is what's missing today, right? Is everybody with AI and technology is like, "Hey, self-directed learning, let's go out there and watch videos and learn and grow." But what's missing is the human connection. And so a part of my vision and mission for my organization is also to reconnect humanity. How do we get more people together again to learn and to grow together? And of course, using and leveraging the technology that we have today with AI. And so I just think that it's really so powerful when you know what your strengths are, because that truly, I was like, okay, if I use a combination of these five strengths every single day, I'm going to be successful in anything that I do. And I encourage all the listeners to actually reflect on their greatest accomplishment and ask themselves, how did you achieve that? Did you use your strengths? And 100% every time, they're going to find that they did use their strengths. And that's what gives people the confidence to keep moving forward and trying new things and not having fear, because, fear just paralyzes us. And had I been fearful, had I been like, I need to, keep my corporate job because I have the steady paycheck, I have the benefits, I wouldn't be where I am today, living my most fulfilled life, doing what I love most by developing confident leaders across generations.
I got chills. Eileen, that's so good. When you said you use your strengths, and I heard it as like a superpower to be a coach, like you gave me chills. I thought that was super cool because you can tell that you're showing up with your three P's, which we can dive into, but the passion, the purpose, and the persistence, right? And the phrase like from stuck to unstoppable totally landed as well. And you really touched on, I think this is the biggest thing is it is 2026, right? And we're talking about technology is doing a steep upward slope and a curve, and the human brain is, we're trying, but we've had a lot of evolution. And when we look at the human connection, you really help bridge that gap. From what I've seen, is that you are able to um help people find what they're best at by using your skills and then by helping them learn not only through strength finders but through brain coach approach. And so, can we hear a little bit more about that? Because I think it's really important that we talk about what that means. Like brain coaching, what is that?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So, a lot of people are like, what is this? Never heard of it. And so, just to give a little background, I am fascinated with people. And so, I personally was like, I'm a learner. So, I was thinking I should go get a master's degree in psychology because I just love this. And all I want to do is coach people all day, every day. And I want to help develop others through teams, not just individuals, but teams as well. So I do a search online for psychology degrees, and randomly this came up, and it was a brain coaching certification. I did a lot of research on it, and I was like, this is exactly what I need. It compresses everything to learn about the human brain into a class in 12 weeks. And then there's a lot of extra classes I can take with them to continue my education. And what I loved about this program is I have already done a lot of different certifications for coaching, the strengths finder, the brain coaching, career coaching, executive coaching. I want to make sure that I don't just say I'm a coach, but I actually have the education and the experience to back that up. And so by doing this certification, what I actually learned is the science behind coaching, not just the art of coaching. And so what I do is a lot of people have mental barriers. A lot of it stems from when we're children, right? When we're told, hey, you're not good at that, or hey, stop focusing on your strengths. You should focus on your weaknesses. Well, I want to change that mindset for everybody because what we truly should be focusing on is what our strengths are. So I tell people, let's focus on what's right and strong versus right and wrong. Because what we will find is it will build our confidence. And so I do a lot of confidence coaching with the brain coaching. What I'm helping people do is break through the mental barriers and move forward in their lives. But what we have to do is rewire the brain. And I know that sounds like, okay, well, how are you going to rewire my brain? But what we do is we go through a lot of different strategies and exercises to dig deep into what's holding people back. So we discuss what is your passion, what is your values, what is your purpose, what's holding you back. And instead of people saying, what if I do this, I could fail. I tell them, think about what if you don't do this. And so it's like positive affirmations. It's having a positive mindset. And it's truly learning how to build better, more intentional habits that allow you to move forward. There's a lot to unpack with brain coaching, but I would say in summary, that truly is what it is. And everybody, if you don't have a coach, everybody does need a coach. Someone needs someone to be their be that guide. We all need instructions, right? Even for our life, we need instructions for different things we build and do. And so I'm just excited to be able to guide people no matter what stage they're in, no matter what their age is. And so that's where I say I coach people across generations because once you fix that mindset and you're intentional about it and you think more positive, you will see a difference in your life.
It's powerful. Absolutely. And I feel like there's so much we could unpack there, but I would love to hear maybe what is like one best piece of advice or nugget, like golden nugget that you could provide for the audience behind brain coaching? Because you touched on a lot of things of like it is clearly it's going to take time, right? We're all the listeners are adults and there's a lot of like the neuroplasticities are going to have to change if you're going to try and do something different. Like, we don't need to get super scientific on it, but I'd be curious if you had like kind of an impact statement of like, what's a golden nugget someone can take with them? Because you've said some key things that I know I'm going to use and I'm going to jot them down in my journal and like remember them. So what is that golden nugget that you could provide to our audience today?
Yeah, I think the golden nugget there's it's kind of different pieces of it. But what I want to say is the golden nugget would be to be more self-aware. We all move too fast in life to actually be aware of what's happening and to reflect on our feelings. There's a lot of emotional regulation that needs to occur as well. And so what I would say, the biggest key and the biggest advice, and you'll hear this from different people as well, but it is so true, and I want everybody to remember this today, is think about what you envision you want your life to be. And if you see back here, I like to talk about this. I don't know if you can really see it completely, but there is obviously a poster back there with a lot of words on it. This is intentional and it's called vision boarding. Whether you want to do a vision board or you just want to write down and journal, it is so important because your mind is there to protect, right? And so if you are not being positive and you're being fearful, then your mind is going to protect you and not let you move forward. And that's the biggest thing. So what you need to do is write down what are your goals and what intentional steps are you going to take to get there? Even baby steps, the smallest things that you can do to achieve each one of those things one by one peak at a time. It's very important. And so whatever you want to call it, I call it manifestation. Other people call it other things. But truly, if you believe, whatever you believe in your mind, you can achieve, but you have to be intentional and you have to keep thinking about it. You have to become obsessed with it. That would be my main point. If you are going to remember anything today, is get obsessed with your goals and where you want to go in your life, and don't let anything hold you back from pursuing that.
Fire. Let's
Yes.
go. So when we look at, I want to pull on the vision board a little bit.
Yes.
Is that one, something that you work with your clients with? And two, is that, what is the, I'd be curious. There's a couple points here. But I vision board as well. And I think that it is a very powerful tool. And just this year, I looked back at my 2022 vision board and thought, whoa, it's cool to see like what has come and what hasn't quite come yet, but how those have transformed and helped me get to a different stage, right? We're, like you said, we're moving so quickly. So I'd be curious, do you work with your clients with it? Looking back at a vision board you've had before, is there anything that you're like, I achieved that thing that I thought was so big? And then the vision board behind you, what is the big thing on there that you're kind of like, whew, this is a BHAG, right? A big, hairy, audacious goal. And that's like what you're striving for as you've launched into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I almost want to like grab the board and like show you, because behind that board is my board from last year. And that board had all these things I want to accomplish. So I'm going to answer all your questions. Tell me if I forget one, because there was a lot of questions. But yes, 100% I do this. Now, my coaching business started 2.5 years ago, and I actually started by coaching our youth. And that's where I started using the vision board. I use positive affirmations and even mirror talk. So not only do you have to believe you can do something and achieve something, but by looking in the mirror every single day and reminding yourself that it is possible, you can do it, you can achieve it, that is going to keep giving you that positive mindset. So in my workshops, not only do I do this with our youth, but I actually do it for corporations as well. So some people may be like, oh, vision boarding sounds like something cutting out of magazines for kids. But what I do is I don't do a one size fits all approach. I actually tailor it by doing virtual, like backgrounds that they can use on their desktop that they build in PowerPoint. So anybody of any age can do a vision board, and I highly recommend it, because if we don't have goals, then what are we working towards, right? How are we achieving the success that we want? I will tell you, my biggest moment that, again, gave me the courage to leave my corporate job was the vision board that is behind the one from this year. That one had, I want to create partnerships. I want to be on podcast. One of my biggest goals was to get on Great Day SA, and I accomplished that. I was so excited to be able to talk about the workshops, about the vision boarding, about the mirror talk, and even power poses. I even had one of my students, she was only 8, come on the show and demonstrate with these big cameras in her face that she gained confidence from the workshops. So I truly am this is just something I think I'm going to do every single year, because this is what allowed me to build quietly while I was still working in corporate, and to be able to be where I am today. Because for the last 2.5 years, nights and weekends, I was working hard on top of my full-time job to be able to build it. And so what I would say is vision boarding is critical. It's critical to create awareness in your mind, because the more you look at it, which I do every day, that's why it's in my office, I look at it and I say, oh, the book I want to write, which is my big, hairy, audacious goal that I'm going to do this year. I already started it last year. I was supposed to do it last year, and that's okay. I'm not a fail. I didn't fail, but it's on my board and it's moving over to this board to say, I'm going to achieve it this year. And so all of you will eventually hear about my book coming out when it does come out. And it is going to feature the framework of P3, which is knowing your purpose, knowing your passion, and being persistent in all that you pursue. Did I miss anything? I know you had a few questions behind the vision boarding, but there's lots of activities I do, but that's just my favorite because it aligns to goals. And by the way, I make everybody write their top 5 strengths because we do Strengths Finder assessments. And I ask them, how are you going to use those intentionally every day to achieve their goals? And this is how people have the momentum to keep going.
I love that. There's so much intentionality of how you're showing up to teach the vision board as well. And I do believe you answered all my questions. Thank you. I know I kind of tossed them all at you. And so I want to ask you, we've kind of like danced around it, but what actually creates lasting transformation? And why do so many personal and professional development efforts actually fail to stick?
Yeah, I love this. So, what creates lasting transformation is the words intentional. You got to be intentional. And you also have to shift your mindset. You have to know your strengths. And it's going to sound repetitive because it is the key to success, but everything is mindset focus, strengths based development, and then being able to, no matter if you fail or for if I call it fail. It's not really failing, right? It's our first attempt at learning. But if we want to move forward, you can't stop. If something doesn't work, you have to pivot. But what a lot of people do is they start feeling that they're failing or they're not progressing how they want to. And that's when they stop. They go back to their old ways and then they keep circling. So you have to be intentional and say, I'm going to do this no matter what. And you got to stay focused. And I think what can create lasting transformation as well is having accountability partners, not just yourself. We sometimes don't hold ourselves accountable enough. And so we need those peers or individuals who can help us. And the reason why it doesn't stick, let's say, let's go to the corporate world. I was talking individual, but learning doesn't always stick in the corporate world because people are not getting that experiential learning. They learn something. But I'm going to tell you right now, we have so much information coming at us all the time. Those self-help books, all of that information that's coming towards you for professional development, it doesn't always stick because you're not practicing it. You're not using it. And just like strengths, they actually start as talents. You have to invest the time to do things to be able to make your talents strengths and to have lasting transformation. So I would say never stop learning. That's key. A lot of people want overnight success. Name of the podcast, right? And I think it's a great name, but there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and you got to be persistent. You can't give up, and you got to keep going. Don't let someone else tell you that you can't do something. That's another thing that people don't transform because they're like, well, I tried, and then someone told me I probably couldn't do it. To me, that lights me up. That puts that fire under me. And I'm like, nobody's going to tell me I can't do anything. Just like starting this business, some people were hesitant for me. They're like, okay, you have this great corporate job that you worked so hard for and built for so many years, and you're just going to leave that and start new. And I'm like, I'm not starting new. That was my practice to allow me to propel and to move forward and having lasting transformation even within myself.
That's so powerful. And what I keep hearing as a thread on this is that there's so much grit, right? And I want to
Yes.
dive into your 3 Ps framework a little bit more today because I think that's going to be powerful, not only for our audience, but to talk about how that framework helped you take the leap, right? And there's so much to unpack in this. I appreciate you sharing not only your wisdom and knowledge with us today, but the fact that like listeners really can take this advice today and pursue whatever they want. And, I love that you mentioned that coaches, like, you need support, you need accountability. It's the same idea as like a therapist needs a therapist, right? And building a business is really hard work. Like, it takes time and effort. And that's what the purpose of this podcast is to talk about how you choose to show up day in and day out and really like my mantra this year, and we can cuss on this podcast, but I'm not going to. But my mantra this year is F your mood, follow the plan. Because it's like your mood's going to dictate you one way or the other, but your goals, your intentions, you got to show up, right? And so everything you're saying is like, one, pouring into me. So thank you, Eileen. But
Yeah.
two, I think there's so much power in the services that you offer. So I want to hear more about how the 3Ps works not only for your clients, but also how it has helped you get to this point.
Yes, thank you. So the power of P3, this is my signature framework. I will say I've been reflecting a lot. Now I have more time because I've been pausing and taking my own advice. But I reflected back on when this even started, and it was over I would say about 12 years ago. I was doodling during, I think I was in a training or something, but they were saying stuff that was really aha moments for me. And I started doodling and I was writing the 3 words that mean a lot to me and how I live my life. And I wrote these words. And I started making like a logo of what this could look like. This was a vision I had a long time ago. And I kind of stopped thinking about like writing the book on it or writing it out, but it never left me. It's something that's ingrained in me, and it makes me excited and it makes me smile right now because this is truly what has allowed me to live this successful life that I have had over the years. My life has not been easy. I've had to work harder, I feel sometimes, than other people just because I stayed stuck. I'm going to say stayed stuck. I'm very dedicated to the place that I work at. And I was at an insurance agency for 10 years and I had already mastered it. I could do it like the back of my hand, but I didn't allow myself to grow because I was comfortable. And what I like to teach people is get rid of that word comfort. Do not use that word anymore because that word holds you back and doesn't allow you to grow. And so the power of P3, I'm going to talk to you about this. A lot of people, and I teach our youth this, I do a lot of workshops with nonprofits as well, and I teach their youth that you got to find your passions as early as you can in life. You're going to think you know what your passion is. I thought my passion was the insurance industry. It was for a while until I really realized what fires me up and where do I have the greatest impact. And that's why I want to build a business that I can leave a legacy. To me, that is the success. It's not what title am I at? I'm a CEO. Wow, that I've always wanted to be a CEO. I am one now, but that's not the title. It's not the title. It's the impact that I'm going to have on individuals. And so my passion, which you can hear, I figured it out. It's developing others. It's coaching others. It's creating professional development programs for organizations that is going to get them to really have the more confident leaders and to build our leaders for the future as well. So that's my passion. You can see it when I talk about it. I get excited. This is how you know your passion. You get warm inside when you talk about it. That's all you want to talk about. So I know I'm in the right place. This is how I figure out what jobs I want, right? And then purpose. Not to put you on the spot, Cristy, but normally I ask people, I do this while we're out hanging out. Maybe I'm at a happy hour. I think it's so important for people to know their purpose. And every single person I've actually asked, there's a pause. I asked them, what's your purpose? It's a really heavy topic. I know some people are like, oh, wow, I haven't thought about it. And I'm like, you need to think about it because if you don't know your purpose, you're going to just keep doing the same thing every day and you're not going to feel fulfilled in life. And so
Yeah.
again, I know what my purpose is. And because I know my purpose, when I ended up leaving corporate, they were like, whoa, what's going on? Like, I saw you applied for some jobs because I had gotten laid off and they gave us opportunity to apply for other jobs. And you pulled all those applications. Why? And the first thing that came to my head, I didn't even know that I was going to quite leave corporate yet. But I said, you know what? I'm very strategic about my career decisions and I have a lot of talents and skills. I do not want to apply for lower level positions. I know what my passions and purpose is, and I'm going to go pursue that full time with my business. And that was the moment I was like, this burden came off of me because trying to make that decision was super hard, but I went with my faith. I took the courage and I had persistence and I went for it. I never gave up on my business that I started building 2.5 years ago. I was doing it part time. I got referral business. I wasn't out there marketing myself, but I knew it worked. And that's what gave me the confidence and the courage and the persistence to say, you know what? I've been successful up until this point. I don't have to stay behind a company to have my identity. I'm going to go ahead and move forward and build this business and leave a legacy. And I'm going to be persistent no matter how hard it gets. And so that is an example of my own story, but how all of those listening, I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't know it, you better start thinking about it tonight. What is your passions? What is your purpose? And be persistent. I was told so many times that I didn't qualify for the jobs I really wanted, but 3 times the charm and I got them after the third time. I never gave up, even though people were like, I would have stopped trying to apply for that job. Maybe it's not right for you. Maybe it's not meant to be. But because it's my passion, I was like, it's meant to be. I just need the right person to take a chance on me. And that's what happened with my last leader in my last role. And thankful to her. I'm going to call her out right now. I'm not going to say her last name, but Cheryl, if you're listening, she is the one who bet on me. And had she not, the trajectory of my life would not have changed because she bet on me. I learned that I was a master facilitator and I became a coach. And had I not been in the role, I wouldn't be where I am today to living my passion and my purpose full time.
Hmm. That's absolutely beautiful, Eileen. And I think that, again, so many things we can unpack, but what I want to highlight is the persistence piece. You open the episode with, I tried 3 times. It's essentially you're going for no. You have to be not afraid. You got out of your
Yeah.
comfort zone and you pushed past those barriers, which is so powerful. But it's also to your point of, your mindset, right? And to your point of your 25 vision board was like creating partners and relations, and you're really good at this as with your talents and your skills, and I think that comes through a lot in your entrepreneurial journey. And so I wanted to say, you can put me on the spot. I do know what my purpose is as
Good.
well, and so I would
Tell
love to
us.
answer that. So at the optimization specialist, which is the CEO role that I hold, is our mission or our purpose is to save companies time, money, and energy. Now, my purpose as a human, which is slightly different because my business is not me, right? But as a human, I want to help elevate human consciousness, meaning I want to help show up and support those so that they can live out to their best lives as well. And it fires me up. Like if I get to show up and wake up every single day, that passion and that purpose comes through and I get to support those in my world. And my world is always expanding because I'm giving that out, right? And so I love the question. And I think that you should continue to ask more people because
I
that
will.
question, like, people need to know what that is and it needs to light them up. It needs to be like a fire within them. So love
Yeah.
that.
And, it
Um,
actually gives you, it brings people towards you actually when they know you're passionate. When I was in corporate, I was wanting to create a strengths-based organization. In the organization I was in, we didn't have a lot of strengths coaches, but I inspired over 12 coaches to become certified so we could partner together to make this happen. And it showed that this was my passion. Matter of fact, again, this was not my job. I'm just passionate about developing people. And I knew everybody needs to know their strengths and I want everybody to know them. That I would get like 2 to 3 requests a week from our executives, not every week, but often to do these workshops. And within a 2 year period of getting my certification, I did over 75 workshops for my organization on top of my job. And people couldn't understand it. They were like, how do you do your job and do this? And I'm like, you know what? When you're passionate about things, you will find the time and energy to do it. And so again, if anybody's feeling stuck in their careers and you feel like it's not right for you, once you find your passion and your purpose, I want you to be very self aware and be persistent and intentional about going for that role that you truly want. Use this time now just to help prepare you for it because once you find it, your life is going to change. And I know people say this, but when you do what you love, you never work a day in your life is absolutely true. Sometimes I'm up till 2 a.m. I know I'm a night owl. I'm kind of crazy like that. Not because I have to work, but because I want to. I come up with new ideas of how I can better serve clients, and it just fires me up because I can't wait to share it with the world.
Hmm. That's so cool. Yeah, I agree with you. You need to also explore though, right? Like you're not going to find your passions if you're not exploring. So that's super powerful. I
Yes.
would like to ask you, Eileen, is like what resources have really helped you maybe with your mindset or with your entrepreneurial journey to get to this point today? What maybe book or podcast or influencer is someone that you admire and have learned a lot from?
Yeah. So because I love coaching, I have been following Tony. Everybody knows him, right? He really creates transformation for people. So Tony Robbins has been someone that I've always just listened to, and I love what he says. I love podcasters because they use these phrases that really stick with you. And so lately, my podcast that I've been listening to, and she shows up on my LinkedIn and my Facebook all the time, and everybody knows her, I'm sure, is Mel Robbins. Mel Robbins, along with so many other podcasters, are who I want to listen to. There is so much positivity coming from what she has to say, and I can say a lot of the things that she shares is stuff that I've been learning over the years as well. So it is solid advice. And those are the people that I truly follow is who are the ones that can like help me continue to learn and to grow as well. So podcasts has been one of my favorite things to do as I'm getting into new habits for myself, like working out. That is something I want to be like work on too this year. And so if you say you don't have time to learn, you do. We all drive a car, right? Most of us, right? And we have extra time as we're getting from point A to point B. So what I would say is if you want to move from point A to point B, you got to make time for it. Listen to those podcasts, read the books, and then self-reflect. Those are the things that I do a lot. And, I would say leverage the AI tools. I know a lot of people are worried they're going to take our jobs. They're not going to replace humans. What's going to replace humans is the other humans that are learning and leveraging this technology. And I personally use ChatGPT, Cloud, and all of the other tools. And what it has done is to let me accelerate my learning. I use it as a learning tool and a resource as well as a thought partner at times. So those are my resources that I use. And then, of course, having CRMs, I know you know a lot about that. You can share with your listeners, but having systems and tools in place will help you to really grow and be more productive.
100%. I love that. And you talk on, I love Tony and Mel, that those thought leaders are incredible. And to your point, Tony talks about net time, which is no extra time, meaning use the time, like you said, in your car to listen to those things that are going to uplift your mindset. And so one last question before we start to conclude here. I would be curious, and we've kind of danced around it a little bit in this episode, but what do you identify as success? So, what is success to Eileen?
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you what I think it used to be to Eileen. This is the new Eileen now, but in
I
the
love it.
past, success was getting to the next level. It was the title. I truly felt like I was chasing a title for most of my career. But in the last 4 years in corporate, that's when I was truly, really uncovering what my passions and purpose were. And because of that, that allowed me to say, you know what? Let me pause. What is success? I keep saying I want to be successful. I achieved success a long time ago. And of course, you can continue to learn and grow. But to me, success was no longer, am I in an executive level position like I kept working so hard for? No, success is how I feel about myself, my own growth. And not only that, but how am I developing others? I have a servant heart and I'm a servant leader. And to me, I was more about I don't care that I'm not getting paid extra for doing these workshops at work. Although I felt that I should have been compensated for doing them, I did them out of my heart, my passion and my purpose for developing others. And I believe that that is success. Success is when you find what you're passionate about and you're making a difference in other people's lives. And success for me going forward is leaving a legacy. And as part of my program, I'm excited to share, if you don't mind,
Please.
what what I did is I launched Peak Confidence Group for a reason. Peak is not just what you imagine a peak to be. It actually means to find your purpose and passions, as I mentioned. It's empowering others, it's taking action, and it's to help people keep rising, which is that lasting transformation. So, what I'm doing is every company that engages with me, I have a Confident Leaders Give Back program. And I'm so excited to share this because I remember I started my business helping our youth. Well, I'm not going to stop doing that. The way that I can continue to help them and make it accessible for youth and parents who may not be able to afford the workshops is giving back through the engagements, through the corporations. It allows 10 to 15 students to attend a workshop to build their confidence, their strengths, and their leadership. So that's what to me, it's a legacy, leaving a legacy where we have more connected, confident leaders and more of a reconnecting humanity. To me, that's success because that's what's missing in the world today.
That's so powerful. And the work that you're doing is truly inspiring, but it's transformational too. It's not just, it's not just talk. There's like so much action packed behind it. And with that right mindset is so powerful. So, Eileen, where can people find you?
Yes, thank you for asking. So I have my website, peakconfidencegroup.com. I'm also on LinkedIn every single day. I'm always posting not just inspirational posts, but truly things. And I have a Mindset Reset Monday. So if you want some free resources, every Monday I do post at about 8:30 a.m. You will be able to get more information on how to rewire your mind to go from stuck to unstoppable. So Eileen Suarez, again, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on all the social media. But truly, I am so excited to be able to help others who may be feeling alone in their transitions. Maybe you're struggling with something in life. And I truly would love an opportunity to help people to really uncover and unlock what's happening within them to rewire and break through those mental barriers to move forward with confidence.
That's amazing. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should have asked you?
At this time, no, I love that you gave me an opportunity to talk about the framework because I think that's the biggest takeaway today. Remember the power of P3. Have passion, know your purpose, and be persistent. Don't ever give up. We learned that when we were kids, and I'm going to say it now. It is true. If you have persistence, you can accomplish any goal that you want to accomplish. So, what you believe, you can achieve.
And on that note, we're going to mic drop and we're going to say, Eileen, thank you so much for joining us on the Overnight Success. It is a transformational journey. We will drop the links to Eileen, contact and her resources in the show notes. And if you're not already liked and subscribed, please like, share, and subscribe. It really does help us grow. And so, Eileen, thank you again for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.